इंडिया के टॉप पत्रकारों को एसी स्टूडियो में बैठ के टक्सीडो पहन के कॉफी सिप करना बेहतर लाइफस्टाइल है या फिर उनको जमीन पे उतरना चाहिए?
Why should I take all the responsibility? We are all part of the shit. You see, this is my problem.
Agitate क्यों हो रहे हो? I'm not शहजाद यार, आराम से बात करो ना। क्या कर रहे हो? Do I look like a Muslim to you?
You see, that's a very...
Is there a hierarchy between Kamal and you? Anchor to anchor, man to man बताओ चलो।
Samdish, दोस्ती बनी रहे। Thank you.
No, but Rajdeep,
दोस्ती
नहीं।
Hell man.
बेवाक इंटरव्यू हो जाए ना फिर यार इतना क्या?
You say what you want.
Do you think the Prime Minister calls the Home Ministers on some lonely nights and says, I wish I could talk to Rajdeep?
यार.
Are you obsessed with him?
You know, I'm going to get into more trouble than I already am in life.
How old were you when you had your first kiss? आप बचपना जिंदा रख सकते हो 9 बजे. And who were you meeting in Pakistan? TV anchors की अगली generation कहाँ है? How much TV anchors are paid? समाज में ओपननेस बढ़ाओ राजदीप सरदेसाई, ऐसा ना करो.
Credibility is built over years. ये कोई box office नहीं है. We are not doing some lungi dance. किसी के बाप का है, you know. ये मेरा हिंदुस्तान है. कौन हो तुम? Indian flag wave कर लो. If you're an Indian Muslim and you will be treated as a patriot. By that token, Dawood was a patriot.
Do you think not enough coverage was done of what was done to Hindus?
Look, chronology समझिए.
ये लॉरेंस बिश्नोई क्या है? ये है क्या
ये समदीश क्या है? उसी तरह से लॉरेंस बिश्नोई
भाई तुम यार एक सेकंड यार देखो आप 9 बजे वाले हो. एक सेकंड नहीं बाबा आप 9 बजे वाले हो. Right and then right. Mr. Sardesai. You do need to be. कैसे हैं आप? Good to see you too.
Sorry, I couldn't. I would have loved to give you to come with me. Your team wanted when I was in Maharashtra.
Yeah. It would have been lovely.
Yeah, it would have been nice, but हमारे
इधर से.
Hey, don't film that.
I will film it. I will film all of it.
No, you can't say all that.
ठीक है. All right.
It is in trouble in life.
ठीक है. I'll beep your stuff. I'll keep my stuff. Yeah, I'll keep mine. You know, I used to have a show in Scoop Whoop. It was called Off the Record, and I used to film everything. How are you feeling today?
I'm very nervous now.
I won't keep it, yeah.
Now I'm very nervous. What is off record, on record?
So you are now nervous?
I know I'm on a 2-month sabbatical, yeah. So I want to stay as much under the radar and do all the things I can without any fucking tension.
Which is fine. I can keep this fucking right.
This bit you can see.
This is our office, but it's not as fancy as an India Today or a CNN IBM. This is the fanciest we could do. Just look at what I've done here.
Exam warrior. Achha, you put exam warriors ahead of my book.
It is ahead of your book.
Not at all.
No.
It can go to the side.
All right.
Mr. Modi for once can share space with me.
All right.
And actually be even behind me if he can. That's okay.
I hope it falls.
Here it is. Okay, it falls. There it is.
Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm okay.
कहाँ से आ रहे हो?
यार मैं अमृतसर से आ रहा हूँ. मेरे दोस्त की बेटी की शादी थी.
बर्थडे कब आता है आपका?
मेरा है 24th May. I turn 60, which is what 5 months away.
At the height of your stardom, not that it has. नहीं सुन राजदीप
No. You won't get me on that.
We will start from there. Also, I can call you Rajdeep, right?
Absolutely.
ठीक है. I've known you as Rajdeep ever since I was a little kid.
You can call me by my pet name, which is Pegu, which my school friends call me. But
Pegu. नहीं अभी हम उतने अच्छे दोस्त नहीं हुए. You still have to decide on that.
No. Rajdeep is fine. So
at the height of your stardom. Birthday celebrations में like did you throw like crazy bashes?
Not at all. The only time I actually had a big birthday, ironically, was, I mean, a big birthday is also wrong thing. I had a proper birthday was 10 years ago when I was turning 50. Okay. We played a cricket match between old friends.
कौन आया था?
अरे हमारे दोस्त यार, कोई अच्छा नहीं था. Everyone had to be given batting twice because they were.
How good were you?
I was in the India under-19, selected for an India under-19 camp.
Nepotism full.
नहीं यार nepotism. If there was nepotism, I would be playing.
That is true.
You know.
If Rohan Gavaskar could play.
नहीं देखो ऐसा है.
I'm joking.
No. This is what I've always said. My late father always told me, when you go out in the field, you have to score the runs, not me. And I think that's the good thing about sport in general. Sport is not nepotistic. You can be nepotistic in cinema, you can be nepotistic in business, in politics definitely.
Sure.
But not in cricket or in sports.
Sports administration? Got you there.
Look, sports administration is run like, family fiefdoms. You've always had politicians and their families controlling many sports bodies. My father is still the only Goa-born cricketer to play for India. Remember, he was born in Portuguese-ruled Goa. So he had to come to Mumbai on a work permit.
Sure.
And first time he saw a cricket field, he was 17. Goa had no proper cricket field. At 21, he was playing for India. So that's why I used to keep asking him. That's why I used to keep asking him, saying, look, I've got everything. Facilities hai, sab kuch hai, bat achhi hai. But ek hi problem tha, talent nahi thi. And when you don't have talent in anything else, there's always journalism.
But you did.
There's always journalism.
There's always journalism. I don't know what you're talking about.
There's always being a podcaster, being a journalist, being whatever. You're a journalist.
I'm not a journalist. I've never claimed to be a journalist.
Jo bhi ho. Whatever I'm saying, I mean, I was trained to be a lawyer.
I would say for everything else, there is also mainstream journalism.
You're trying to now get under us. But look, when I came back in 1988, back from Oxford with a law degree.
You did play cricket for Oxford?
I played cricket for Oxford.
You played against Pakistani team?
In Oxford and Cambridge combined universities versus Pakistan, bowled for 1 by Abdul Qadir.
Batter, bowler क्या?
मैं बैटर था.
Right या left?
Right था.
You were right in cricket.
सब कुछ मैं right करता हूँ.
ठीक है.
मैं right, मेरी politics right से करता हूँ, मेरी cricket right से. ये right और left कौन जाने यार? Cricket में right and left का तो फर्क होता है. आजकल वो पत्रकारिता में भी आ गया. Are you right? Are you left? Are you center?
Which is sad.
Which is sad because look, it's not as if it only happened in the last 10 years. But the interesting thing is, I'll tell you this, when I joined Times of India in 1988, that newsroom that we had, Meri Pehli edit meeting, we had guys who were sort of hard left, we had guys who were becoming hard right, as I said, and there were centrists.
Yeah.
But they were all there. There were 8, 9, we had an edit page meeting that went on for 3 hours. All these buggers fighting with each other over, in those days, that's the same time that you're seeing the rise of the BJP, 88, 89. And it was fascinating to just be a fly on the wall. I was this young kid, 23-year-old, just listening to these voices. So, right, left.
Were you actively dating at that point?
Dating who?
Anyone, men, women, whoever you were into.
My claim to fame is I double dated with Salman Khan. That's my claim to fame.
How did that happen?
Uski girlfriend used to live close to where I used to, and my girlfriend used to live where he used to in Bandra.
Achha.
और उस ज़माने में Bandra से town आना and town से Bandra was like going to another city. We did a double date, and I remember the highlight of it was at the end of the day, the next day, Helen Auntie, as Helen Auntie, whatever, cooking breakfast for us. Wonderful lady.
You've been to the house?
Yeah.
Galaxy? How many times? When did
Fair
you last?
Few times.
Yeah.
Last time was when I met Salim Saab.
Okay.
I used to go and meet him once in a while. वो बड़े न्यूज़ के शौकीन हैं, क्रिकेट के बड़े शौकीन भी है.
I think वो समाज के ही शौकीन है, वो समाज को observe.
Nice guy. Yeah. He's a fine man. I mean, that's right. Soft spoken, doesn't say too much, lives in his own world, doesn't seek publicity. I'm a bit like a kid in a candy shop when I see all these stars, as you call them. You sort of want to know, how did he come across the character, or how did he decide on Gabbar Singh's character, how did he decide on Sholay. I do that with film stars, I do that with cricketers, I do it with musicians. These are 3 people, when I did an interview with Asha Bhosle last year, and I was just, it was like, for me it was like magic. Because,
I'm sure.
You just give one line of a song and then she starts singing it. And that's, that's wonderful.
So that still happens to you? You still have a glow in your eyes when you meet?
Yeah, I'm a fan of cricketers, musicians, film stars, yes and no. I mean, they're not, cricketers and musicians are top of my, because they have God's talent. I mean, sports persons in general. When you see a sports person, you realize you're in the presence of someone who has some special gift that God has given him. Similarly with musicians.
और ऐसा कब हुआ जब किसी हीरो या स्टार से मिले और डिसअपॉइंट हो गए कि यार इससे नहीं मिलते तो अच्छा रहता है.
नाम नहीं लूंगा.
अरे यार कौन है?
नहीं यार, but look, I'll tell you what, the one film star I had a great experience with was Dev Saab. Dev Anand came on the Lahore bus yatra with Vajpayee.
You went?
In 1999.
You were in the bus?
I was reporting.
You were in the bus?
मैं बस पे नहीं था यार, मैं वहाँ.
But you were in the bus?
अरे, I was on the border waiting for the bus.
You were Vajpayee's favorite journalist after.
नहीं यार,
come on.
क्या बात करते हो यार? No, I appreciated Vajpayee ji for who he was.
I love your interviews with him.
And if you see the last one that I did with him, I think 2004 April,
yeah.
I regard it as really one of the better ones that I did, but not because of what I asked, but because of the way he spoke.
I think the one in 99 was also not bad.
Yeah, so I did a couple of ones, but Dev Saab was interesting because we went to Lahore. I wanted to do something thoda color, जैसे तुम करते हो ना. get under the skin of someone and say something which will be interesting, entertaining. So Dev Saab and I walked and he was like the Pied Piper. जैसे ही वो लाहौर के रास्ते पर चले यार, there was hundreds of people within moments who had assembled there. Finally we reached this college, I think Government College, Lahore, and he points to a tree and says, you know Rajdeep, like you're asking just now, you know Rajdeep, that's where I dated and kissed my first girlfriend. I said, yaar Dev Saab, ये तो बड़ी अच्छी बात है. He was, you know, he must have been close to 80 or 80 plus, but he was full of life.
So he was okay telling you about his first kiss?
Yeah, he was. You see, these Dev Anand, he's, you know, dated all the...
How old were you when you had your first kiss?
you
have to be as cool as Dev Anand.
Yeah,
Rajdeep, come on here.
I have come to meet Samdish to talk about my book 2024, the election that changed India. That surprised India. Election that changed India was 2014. And he's still asking me questions about things, everything else but the book.
आपको मैंने बोला
and he's holding a book which I see.
Which is of your lover. I mean, are you obsessed with him?
Exam Warriors Narendra Modi. No, I'm not obsessed with him. You know, if you go back in time, I entered this profession in 1988. Mr. Modi's rise really begins around 80, in that same period, by 1990s when I first met him at the Rath Yatra. His career has gone from here to here to here to here. My career has remained here.
Clearly, obviously, yeah, sure.
So I mean, so there is no, so I'm an observer. He's one of the figures I have observed for the last 30 odd years. And let's be honest, Samdish, he's the guy who's, at the end of the day, in a way rewritten the political rules in this period. So how do I not? I mean, if I look at cricket, it was Sachin Tendulkar who scored his first century in first class cricket 1 month after I joined Times of India. And there's Narendra Modi who became this, you know, over these last 30 years, has become India's Neta number one.
Does he know how obsessed you are with him?
I'm not. I know, actually, you
have to take the joke forward.
But it could be both ways. It could.
You think? You think one night like he just calls Amit Shah and says, "Yeah, Rajdeep, I'm missing Rajdeep." ऐसा होता है उन दोनों में?
क्या?
I'm missing Rajdeep these days. Do you think the Prime Minister calls the Home Ministers on some lonely nights and says, "I wish I could talk to Rajdeep"?
I don't want to get into Mr. Modi's mind or what Mr. Modi and Shah are talking post midnight. You know,
what do you think that they talk post midnight?
Yeah. You know, I'm going to get into more trouble than I already am in life.
As soon as you walked into this office, it was all.
I know, but look, but I'll tell you one thing. Most politicians are night owls. Modi ji and Shah also, I think they're night people. So when you said, what do they talk to each other post midnight? Yeah, ye to only they can tell you. They are Jodi number one. I call them Jodi number one. You know, they are in a way joint at the hip. Joint at the hip.
All right.
I think in this book or the earlier one, the 2019.
I have all three of them by the way.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I'm very impressed.
Yes.
I like that. You've impressed me by doing that. I don't know whether you've read them. That's another matter. I hope
I've read some bits of.
Hey, kya karte ho? Yeah, your generation needs to read.
What is it that you have against my generation?
I have nothing. You know, my.
No, ऐसे नहीं. कुछ अंदर है. नहीं.
I have nothing. Look, how old are you?
Guess.
35.
और यार क्या बंदा है? Are you 75? I'm 31 here.
You're 31.
You were
your beard is making you look a little older.
Also, I think you were judging me based on my wisdom, which is like I'm 45 based on my wisdom.
No, so you're 31.
Yeah.
My son is going to turn 30 in a couple of months. So I'm perfectly au fait with your generation. And I love the energy that your generation has. I love the energy. I love the drive. I love the entrepreneurial skills. I love the ambition.
What do you not love? What do you not like?
I think you guys at times don't read enough.
Sure.
For starters, you're an impatient generation. You want things like tomorrow.
Yesterday, not tomorrow.
Like yesterday. Yesterday. No, that's about it. But you're the lucky generation. You're the lucky generation.
आपके साथ गलत हुआ, हमारे साथ सब सही हो रहा है. ऐसे ही बोलेंगे ना.
यार तू मेरी बात सुन. When I entered this profession in 1988, there was just Doordarshan.
Were you not luckier than your father's generation?
Absolutely.
So then every generation is successively luckier.
And you're right. And therefore, my theory is life is a baton relay. I have to pass the baton on to you. And you've got to take it forward and run even faster than I could.
And that we will do.
Good, I'm sure you will. Look, you know, I look at all your videos and I see all these millions of views that you guys get. And I say, hell man, what do I need to do to get the same number of views that Samdish gets?
We can talk about that off camera.
And I saw a wonderful interview, by the way, that you did with Omar Abdullah. I really liked
the second one or the first one?
the one which you did during the elections this time.
It was the second one. Yeah.
I did Omar Abdullah's interview, and I looked at the two interviews and I realized why people would watch Samdish and not me.
Why though?
Because my problem was and this is a problem that journalists have, that we want to look for the headline. We forget that we are interviewing someone who may have other things to offer us in terms of his experiences, his knowledge. So I think that's our weakness.
How do you rate yourself as an interviewer? 1 से 10
5. 4 to 5.
And do you think you've gotten better or not better?
I don't know. Look, that is for people to judge. I think I'm at my happiest when I'm observing people and when I'm out in the field with common people.
You are so organic when you're on the ground.
I think people are more natural, right? Common people are more natural. I think the so-called stars or celebrities or politicians,
उनका organic ढूंढना तो बड़ा मुश्किल
है. They are constantly play acting to the camera.
आप अभी कितनी acting कर रहे हो?
This is who I am.
You are so used to the camera.
This is who I am, but I'm being very careful of some of the things I'm saying I've got into trouble in life because I am who I am. I say things spontaneously because I believe that's the only way to live life.
तो हो जाए एक बेबाक इंटरव्यू हो जाए ना फिर यार इतना क्या
come, you say what you want. I'll answer. I haven't asked you for any questions, nothing, have I?
No.
Then
not that I know of.
No, not that's
maybe you and Terry might have word.
No. I've asked no one.
राजदीप एक बात बताऊं मैं आपको, you should know this about me and because I represent the generation, मेरे को कोई भी क्वेश्चनर मांगता है ना तो मैं इंटरव्यू करता ही नहीं हूँ.
Very good. Yeah, you see the problem that we have is that when we give certain, if I were to give specific question that I really wanted to ask, most people will not come for the interview.
यही बात है.
So you have to sort of give these vague, general observations or questions, not specific questions.
Yeah.
But I'm okay. Look, as I told you, I don't see myself as a star, as a celebrity. I see myself as a cockroach.
You are famous.
I am famous because of the medium, not because of me.
Not of your work at all. आपके काम का कोई इसमें श्रेय नहीं है?
No, I don't think so. I mean, if there is, it's for viewers or readers to judge. I've worked hard. I've worked very hard for 35 years. I've put a lot of effort.
No, but I'm saying,
but that's not enough.
Does your competence play a factor in how famous you are in TV journalism? या फिर TV journalist हो तो famous तो हो ही जाओगे, भले आप अच्छे हो या बुरे हो.
I'll give you another twist to that.
Sure.
1990s में channel कम थे, right? तो यार देखना तो हमें ही था. There was no option, right? So you had to see me, and therefore we became quote unquote famous.
You were good though.
Yeah,
come on. You were good, Rajdeep. At one point in time, you were good.
That's fair. I agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. But यार हर चीज में but होता है. But थोड़ा reinvention भी किया है.
आपने बहुत सही किया है. I think you are one of the people who have done it.
Because a few years ago I started this program Neta Nagari with Saurabh Dwivedi. And when Saurabh started it on London Top, we didn't know where it would go. But we get huge. That program gets millions of views virtually every week. As you said rightly, reinvention is the key. You have to, a lot of the older journalists, I'm saying it when I was a young journalist, looked down upon us. Honestly. They were never ready to level with us. And I think that was their weakness because then they didn't adjust to the changing times. I remember when I first joined TV in 94, most of my print colleagues, yaar kya TV kar raha hai? You're not really a journalist anymore. Almost, as if we in TV were people who would sort of let down the profession or it wasn't serious enough.
इसमें आपको थोड़ा भी सच दिखता है कि print में ज़्यादा journalistic endeavor वाला काम हो पाता है?
Yes.
और एक सेकंड, और खासकर compared to someone who does the 8, 7 or the 9 slot, जो स्टूडियो में बैठ के वाला काम है, क्या print जितना journalism हो पाता है वहाँ पे?
देखो, there was a time when you could say that.
Okay.
I'm not sure anymore.
Got it.
Now there's a general decline when it comes to news gathering. But yes, print journalists perhaps had the benefit of more time to analyze, to report, to investigate compared to TV. Does that mean that print is necessarily much better than TV? No. I mean, I go through some of the newspapers in 5 minutes now. 5 minutes में अखबार खत्म हो जाता है यार. Where were the days, when edit page articles were written in those days, fierce debates broke out over it. आज edit page articles की quality देखिए across most newspapers. There's a general decline in the quality of some of the editorial writing, particularly on politics.
तो ये जो journalism का एक तरीके से downward trend है, I think it's a cyclical thing. It might come back.
It'll come back.
how much of the blame do you take on yourself?
Well, none. Why should I be held
Rajdeep
responsible?
Sardesai, you were a face of the thing.
So
come on.
Between 2005 and 14, I was editor-in-chief of the IBN 18 network. We won more Ramnath Goenka awards than all the other channels put together in those 9 years. That's all. Beyond that, what can I say? That, are you responsible for the decline in journalistic standards? Why should I take all the responsibility? I'm part of that process.
I'm not saying you should take all the responsibility.
And I'm also not one of those guys who wants to be self-righteous and say, you guys are shit, I'm the good guy. I don't think so. We are all part of the shit, right? In some form or the other.
When they're insulting each other, and when they're sometimes insulting you, Amit Malviya's stuff, when they're like, do you sometimes sit back and say, dude, that was genuinely funny?
Look, I'll tell you something interesting, which I don't think I've said. One of these BJP spokespersons who's among the loudest and also very sharp is this Shehzad Poonawalla. And this Shehzad Poonawalla used to work with me as an intern at CNN IBN. अब आप सोचिए वो intern जो कल तक मेरी जैसे आपने कहा
I will never be able to take this from my intern.
The decline of Rajdeep Sardesai is evidenced in the fact that there is an intern 15 years ago with you who today can say what he wants to you, then go on Twitter. ये बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग चीज होती है. पहले तो आपके प्रोग्राम पे आते हैं, फिर वो गाली गलौज ये हो जाता है या जो भी होता है, whatever happens shouting, then they'll go on Twitter and put a little clip and say, look how I smashed Rajdeep today. Then his followers will say, go Shehzad, go. I mean, it's a circus, man. It's a bloody circus.
I'm not on Twitter. I have no clue about this one.
ये circus है यार. If you take yourself so seriously, if you become overly pompous, I think there's no place today in communication for you. You've got to take this as par for the course कि वही बंदा जो कल तक आपका इंटर्न था, बीजेपी स्पोक्सपर्सन है, एक जमाने में कांग्रेस में था. I could just clip, I could do what to him? I could just clip all that he said about the Congress, about the BJP when he was in the Congress. And just, I'm astonished how people make these sort of 360-degree turns. But
I have two questions to this. एक तो how was he as an intern?
He was a good guy. Even now, I think he comes prepared with notes.
ठीक था. Work ethic था.
Work ethic.
या आपने सिखाया ऐसा होना उसे?
No, he was just an intern there. But look, many people think I taught because they worked with me in various forms as juniors. Have all either outgrown me or become sort of creatures whom I can't recognize.
What happened with him?
With whom?
Goswami.
अरे the elephant in the room.
नहीं एक बार
नहीं Arnab and I were
नहीं पर एक बात सुनो अभी देखो आपका
Arnab refused to have the Griha Pravesh in his house till I came there that day.
When in 90s?
नहीं 2000s में होगा. We were there. You will be surprised to know that I pushed to ensure that he got a prime time show on NDTV. I will get you 10 witnesses to that also, to that effect. And then I suddenly saw, which only disappointment for me was, and that too I came to know of this through a third party. In fact, my daughter showed it to me. A story that I had done in the 2002 Gujarat riots. What story? I had been targeted and attacked on the Gandhinagar highway along with my driver. We were all being asked to put down our pants. It's the most frightening experience. It's very nice to talk about it, but 12:30 in the night, middle of the riots, car windshield is smashed by a pickaxe. Then you are asked prove whether you're Hindu or Muslim, asked to put down your pants. And I described this incident in my 2014 book. A few years later, Arnab, in front of a gathering which included, I think, Tarun Gogai.
He quoted it as his own story.
As you know, I went through this. And I hadn't heard about it till my daughter came to me. What is this video going on? Isn't this the story you told us when you came back from Gujarat? And she was then 6-7, but some stories stay in the mind.
आप इतने सालों से झूठ बोल रहे हो?
नहीं.
It's obviously his story.
No. The shocking truth of the matter, he wasn't even there. He came much later. He was there for a day. It's not about that. It's, when someone, I have no problem with someone attacking me for whatever.
Sure.
But when you plagiarize someone's story and pass it off as your own, in any other part of the world, there would be serious repercussions for that.
वो तो ऐसी बहुत चीजें होती हैं इंडिया में जो कहीं और होती तो बहुत serious repercussions होती हैं.
But I felt disappointed that one occasion because here was someone I regarded as a friend, and in some ways, we'd gone up in journalism together, and he was a very fine professional.
Were you guys the same hierarchy in NDTV or you were senior?
मैं senior था. अब senior junior की बात छोड़ो.
नहीं फिर भी एक ऐसे ही जानने के लिए.
अरे he was to join. He was planning. He was undecided in 95. Came to see me whether young bright guy come back also from Oxford. whether he should go to print or TV. I told him, hey, TV is going to be the future. He joined us. And he was a very fine professional. And I still, in many ways, I have great regard
for... आपकी 95 में मीटिंग कहाँ हुई थी?
मेरे घर पे आया था.
ओके, उस टाइम आपका घर कहाँ था?
मयूर विहार.
कौन सा फेज? आप जमुना पार में रहे हो? एक सेकंड. राजदीप सरदेसाई लिव्ड इन ईस्ट दिल्ली.
मैं 30 साल दिल्ली में रहा हूं. मेरे 5 घर रहे हैं, ऑल रेंटेड. मयूर विहार से.
मयूर विहार का फेज कौन सा?
मयूर विहार वो IFS अपार्टमेंट्स है.
अच्छा, IFS इज नाइस. You've seen the man transform, evolve. मतलब अगर सच में एक एक dispassionate view लिया जाए, सिर्फ एनालाइज किया जाए कि क्या आपके, क्योंकि प्रोफेशन तो सेम ही है, हालांकि अब वो शायद पता नहीं क्या कर रहे हैं, वो प्रोफेशन क्या है जो वो अब करते हैं, पर प्रोफेशन सेम है. क्या इस प्रोफेशन में कुछ ऐसे इनहेरेंट लूप होल्स हैं, पिटफॉल्स हैं कि आदमी वो भी बन सकता है जो वो बन गए हैं? देखो, so like how do you assess his situation? What happened?
Look, first of all, let me add one little nugget to this.
Sure.
2003 World Cup final, India versus South Africa.
India, Australia.
India, Australia.
Yeah,
you're right. India, Australia. You're right. India, Australia, South Africa. In South Africa, 4 of us went to watch the match together. My father, my son, me, and Arnab.
He was family.
I mean, in the sense, he wanted to come to watch the match. I try again, like that show which I ensured he got on prime time. I ensured that Arnab was part of. Wanted to come to see the match. Why not? So there's a personal level, which is why I don't want to talk about our personal equation beyond saying that yes, we were colleagues and we worked very closely together. It's his journey. He's chosen a particular path. Good luck to him.
Sure.
He's built a channel, a network. Again, good luck to him. He's worked incredibly hard. Good luck to him. I may disagree with what he's gone and done as a result to the profession, but he could easily turn around and say he doesn't approve of my style of journalism. So I don't want to make it about one person against the other. As you get older, you realize that it's better to be less judgmental about people. People take different paths to what they think is success.
Sure.
And he's chosen a particular path. I have chosen another path. And may the twain never meet.
No, I respect you setting your limits to how much you will talk about.
So I won't go beyond.
No, I appreciate that. लेकिन जो वो करते हैं, क्या आप उसे जर्नलिज्म की बाउंड्रीज में ही देखते हो या वो थोड़ा कुछ अलग हो गया अब?
No, look, across the world we are seeing people, and he's and many people in India are part of it, of taking these hugely opinionated stands, particularly right-wing stands, because that's where the balance of power is seen to have shifted. Now, some of them may do it out of conviction, some of them may do it out of convenience, right? I have respect for those who do it out of conviction. I have less respect for those who do it out of convenience. वो उगता सूरज के साथ चले जाओ.
For sure.
So that, and that's where I want to leave it. Now, where he fits within this is for you to decide.
सोचना तो आपने कभी सोचा तो होगा convenient. Come on, you know the man, यार.
नहीं.
कैसे Rajdeep, come on, यार.
No. As I said, I don't want to be judgmental. It would be unfair because that as I said, each one chooses his or her own path. My life belief is, in the end, you have to answer your own conscience.
Okay.
I think the state of journalism needs to be discussed, and I'll answer it without individuals here based on what you said. What troubles me about, तुम BJP हो, तुम कांग्रेस हो, तुम लेफ्ट हो, वो सब चलता है, वो तो पहले से हुआ है. What troubles me is the normalization of hate through the medium. अगर मैं बोलूं तू हिंदू बनेगा ना मुसलमान बनेगा, इंसान की औलाद है, इंसान बनेगा, I'll be probably hit back. People will say, oh, you're pseudo secular, you're anti-national, you're not, these are the people who need, what घुसपैठिया है. The language which is used, sometimes societies are defined by the vocabulary which they use. And the vocabulary that we use today to define people and communities, I find unacceptable. Could you make a great film like Amar Akbar Anthony today? Could you make it? You see, this is my problem. आज अगर आप बनाओगे ना,
hesitate क्यों हो रहे हो? I'm not Shehzad. यार आराम से बात करो ना. क्या कर रहे हो?
Oh, sorry.
This is not India today.
Are you looking like Shehzad? Not today.
Do I look like a Muslim to you?
You see, what you've just said has triggered what troubled me. You remember last year that railway police constable went around shooting people? And one of the things he said is, are you looking, he was looking for people who looked like a Muslim. You were in that train, he might have shot you. And this is and he was asked, where did you get this anger? Where did it come from? He said, वो तो TV पे हम देखते हैं, वो तो सब पाकिस्तान से आए हुए हैं. This is the impact it's having on the psyche. This constant attempt to bring in religion into a very polarized politics is lethal. ये नैरेटिव चलता है और ये बात करते हैं जॉर्ज सोरोस की. आप तो अपने देश को देखो ना. आई डोंट केयर हु सोरोस और आई एम मोर वरीड अबाउट व्हाट हैपेंस विद इन दिस कंट्री.
I do want to talk about whether you find anything of.
I'm still waiting for Samdish to ask the first question of the book.
I will give it full half an hour.
No worries.
And I will edit
No
it
worries.
in the start.
No worries. No worries.
I will ask.
I want people to read the book, including your generation, not for any other reason, because I've tried to be as honest as possible. Out of the 3 books that I've done,
I'll get this out of.
No, but I'll tell you this, Samdish. Out of the 3 books that I've done, I think I've been the most honest this time.
All right.
In terms of, sometimes you're holding yourself back as a writer.
And what was stopping you here?
I'll tell you what. Each book is a reflection of the time.
Sure.
2014 में जो मूड था देश का had come out of India against corruption. गुस्सा था लोगों में, particularly against the Congress party. Sure. Legitimately so.
Is this a more honest time we are going through? Because you are more honest?
No, I'm trying to explain. 2014 में it was an anger that was there at the time, built up, and it resulted in the BJP winning its first majority. 2019 होते it was in the backdrop of Pulwama. And there was a different kind of nationalism that had emerged.
499 rupees? 499 rupees?
हाँ,
yes, चलें.
वो थोड़ा expensive है.
ये तो hard
cover है. And by the time we've come to
799 rupees. जी.
By the time we've come to 2024,
yes.
I think
online हर जगह मिल जाएगी.
हाँ.
इन्होंने ही लिखी है.
ऑडियो पे भी आ गई है.
ऑडियो पे भी आ चुकी है.
अच्छा. By the time we've come to 2024,
yeah.
I think the politics of this country has become so sharp and sharply polarized that some of those polarities needed to be reflected in an honest manner. अगर आप ये तीनों किताबें एक साथ पढ़ो तो you get a sense of how India has changed.
Fantastic.
That was my aim, to show how India has changed politically.
I think जितनी short term memory अभी हम लोगों की चल रही है क्योंकि इतना flood of information दिया जा रहा है उसमें recent history को document करना एक बहुत ही important endeavor है और उसको एक कहानी के तौर पे बताना एक ऐसी position से जहाँ से आपको बहुत कुछ दिखता होगा वो बहुत ज़रूरी है. So thank you for doing that. ये इसका सारा पैसा अगर राजदीप की जेब में ही आता है इसमें से कुछ चैरिटी में.
That's the other point.
Yeah, what is the point?
writer gets the least out of all of this. The publishers, the booksellers, everyone writer gets nothing.
How much percentage of the 14 book have you gotten now?
Nothing. The writer will get maximum 8 to 10% of whatever the sales are.
मैं कह रहा हूँ कि 14 के कवर में दोनों मुझे दिख रहे हैं.
हाँ.
19 के कवर में दोनों दिख रहे हैं. मैं इसमें ना चंद्र बाबू और नीतीश बाबू को ढूंढ नहीं पा रहा हूँ. Why this cover and not politicians this time?
This is by far the best cover of the 3 books as well. There's
right.
a woman. She's a woman.
Yeah.
This is the era of gender power. You cannot win an election without women voters.
All
That's
right.
one message.
वो भी important है. Is her age also important here because she's a young woman?
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean the youth of the Samdish audience is the one that is deciding elections. So you answer a question for me. Do you think people like me should stay in TV or should we try and adjust and come to the new world?
मेरा आंसर ये है कि राजदीप टीवी एंकर्स की अगली जनरेशन कहाँ है? Do we know any known like Shaw Preeti is one, but like I'm saying 25 से 30 साल वाले जो stand out होने चाहिए टीवी एंकर्स वो कहाँ हैं? Like is there someone matching a Dhruv Rathi on TV? Is what I want to ask.
That's because I think it's a shift of medium, na? You moved away. Today, more and more people, I was in Amritsar, I asked people around where do they catch their news. More and more are going to YouTube, more and more are going digital.
But क्या टीवी में numbers नहीं है अभी? क्या करोड़ों लोग अभी टीवी नहीं देख रहे हैं?
Look, TV is still going to be important.
Sure.
TV is still big. Just as newspapers are still big. There are people who still, we are a country, we keep saying young country. We are also an old country.
Sure.
Indians are living much, much longer than ever before.
We are a populous country, basically.
The other day, some 87-year-old woman came to me, very upset that I wasn't on TV for the last week. Said, "Where are you? You have to come." Got my book signed, and she says, she's an appointment viewer of 9 p.m. There are still those. So everyone will be there. But to answer your question, where are the Dhruv Rathis on TV?
But I can also answer your question first.
Now, please answer it.
आपने पूछा आपको टीवी करना चाहिए कि मेरे को पता क्या लगता है मैं इस सवाल पे आने वाला था कि
मल्टीमीडिया होना चाहिए.
नहीं मल्टीमीडिया तो ठीक है वो तो एक वो शब्द अब कोई यूज नहीं करता.
अच्छा नहीं
प्लीज स्टॉप यूजिंग द टर्म दिस इज लाइक सो 90s.
Oh really?
मल्टीमीडिया क्या होता है?
ओके बता. हां देन
नाउ यू विल से टेप रोल हो रहा है कि
नहीं
गॉन. मैं आपसे पूछने वाला था कि इन्फ्लुएंसर्स कितना डिस्कस होते हैं आपके न्यूज़ रूम्स में और कितना वो इन्फ्लुएंस करते हैं कि आप क्या बोलते हो कैसे बोलते हो. लाइक हाउ मच इज योर एजेंडा ऑफ द पॉलिटिशियंस एंड ऑफ द जर्नलिस्ट इज सेट बाय व्हाट इज हैपनिंग ऑन द इंटरनेट और वाइस वर्सा. बट where I'm taking this question is, do you see collaborations happening? Because नेता नगरी ठीक है, वो भी तो इंडिया टुडे ग्रुप ही है, तो वो एक असली कोलैबोरेशन मैं नहीं देखता. अच्छा स्टार्ट है, Saurabh does it great, you have a fantastic style, you are a star, but more collaboration. I don't know how it will happen. I have an idea for a show you can do on some YouTube channel, maybe on mine, you know. I have these ideas. I'm sure a lot of people have these ideas, and I'm not a journalist, but you doing a show on YouTube, apart from being the guy that you are on India Today, are there more collaborations? Do you see that happening? क्या TV, क्योंकि TV के पास एक सामाजिक legitimacy है, और TV जिस दिन बोलेगा हाँ यार समदीश भी legitimate है, तो समदीश को और audience मिलेगी. मैं नहीं कह रहा करूँ. I'm not asking for that. I'm just saying there's a social legitimacy you guys have, which is definitely slightly broken when this election happened. This election, and that is why you've given 2.5 pages to Dhruv and half a para to Ravish. You know, I've read that bit.
A couple of pages to both.
Yeah, so I mean, so you have mentioned them equally, if not.
Yeah, we are going through a transition phase.
Yeah.
Where essentially there's a lot of disruption. You know, this is an age of disruptors. I mean, I believe walls have to be broken.
Collaboration बताओ ना.
Or collaboration. You see, then.
आप करना चाहते हो कि नहीं ये बताओ.
I would love to. When I was sort of promoting my book, I found a lot of mainstream media, of which I was once a part, were reluctant to discuss the book with me, obviously because they thought certain parts are critical, without even having read. But generally, you know, the big newspapers feel, one of the big newspaper editors actually told me, we don't do books.
English or Hindi?
English. We don't do books. Hindi guys doing. The Hindi guys are more than willing to do.
English newspaper not doing books.
Yeah, say we don't do books.
So
but if a foreign author comes today, even with a second-rate book, they will have a big interview of him, right? Because the foreign author is seen as a celebrity.
Yeah,
you know, you want the legitimacy, and you're reluctant to do that in that space. So therefore, I turned to digital and social media and said, look, okay, you don't want to do it, I'll find other audiences. And I find huge audiences out there. And not just young, people across the board reading.
Absolutely.
And you know, so again, we cannot box ourselves. So you use the word collaboration. I think the day we realize that we cannot live in silos anymore.
I think that'll change the game. It'll open the society up more.
That's right.
It'll change the game.
You have to stop living in silos.
Also because we don't look out for each other. I think we should be looking out for each other.
Of course we should be. I mean, even within our profession, we are so sort of deeply engrossed. यार ये breaking news है, अभी है. दुनिया बाहर क्या देख रही है? What are they interested in? How much of an effort are we making to find out what does the audience or the viewer really want?
Sure.
हमारा एक formula है, right? And we've been going by that formula. Maybe that formula out there, people may not want to hear these screeching voices in a debate. Maybe they want something else.
Formula तो यही होना चाहिए ना कि improvise करो.
हाँ.
हर 2-3 साल में इंडिया बदल रहा है, सोच बदल रही है, लोग बदल रहे हैं.
So those who don't will get left behind, is my view.
I will have to take a break because I think my father's here. Papa ji, aajaye. You can come in. This is Rajdeep.
Hi.
My dad, Vivek Bhatia.
Hi, Vivek ji. Good to see you.
He's looking so good.
No? Yeah, looking good. You've got the best jacket out of the three of us. The smartest jacket.
He does.
I've got the least smart jacket.
Thank you.
Good to see you, sir.
आराम से यही रहे यहाँ से. यहाँ इधर से.
आप तो न्यूज़ देखते हो ना?
हाँ जी, आपको तो मैं रेगुलर देखता हूँ.
समदीश को देखते हो?
इतना बड़ा झूठ बोला इन्होंने.
समदीश को देखते हो कि नहीं?
मैं समदीश को तो खैर इसकी एक चीज
देखते हो?
अरे क्या बात.
अरे वाह, you got a fan. Dad is a fan.
Of course, I'm the fan.
It's like my mother. Somebody once told me, does anybody watch your show? I said, I know one person who does. My mom. She's the only person who's very unhappy that I've taken this sabbatical, saying, what do I do at 9 p.m.? I said, do something else. Watch some Netflix or something. She's not very happy. ठीक है, चलता है.
Do you feel like in the setting that you work in, थोड़ा, can you keep your, आप बचपना जिंदा रख सकते हो 9 बजे वाले एंकर और उस 1 घंटे के लिए क्या कभी, बिकॉज आई फील लाइक टिल द टाइम रवीश वाज डूइंग इट, वो एक बचपना एक यू नो सम काइंड ऑफ ह्यूमर वाज अलाइव देयर टिल अ पॉइंट. माय क्वेश्चन इज क्या वो बचपना जिंदा रखा जा सकता है आज के लिए एक सीनियर जर्नलिस्ट में?
When I'm in the studio surrounded by angry politicians shouting at each other and at me, कहाँ बचपना
रहेगा? Is it not necessary for a journalist to have some of that alive?
Of course it is, and some of it comes out on election day. You know, some of the sort of no joke वो आ जाती है.
Why is it important for a journalist to have that बचपना alive?
Because how else are you going to be a good observer? right? Otherwise, you think अगर आपका बचपना ना हो, then you are sitting in some ivory tower. जैसे पुराने editors बैठा करते थे.
मेरा सवाल ये राजदीप, is it a good strategy for top इंडिया के सीनियर पत्रकार, टॉप पत्रकारों को एसी स्टूडियो में बैठ के टक्सीडो पहन के कॉफी सिप करना बेहतर लाइफस्टाइल है या फिर उनको जमीन पे उतरना चाहिए रोज रात को?
No option. There's no question. You can be occasionally in the studio. Let's not also
So
say.
then.
But you should be spending a substantial part talking to people. You said Bachpanaa, na? One of my original mentors in this profession was R.K. Lakshman, the famous cartoonist. He used to sit in the room next to me. And one of the reasons why Lakshman was such a genius is because he never lost his Bachpanaa, his sense of playfulness. He would suddenly take a pen away from you and look around. Rajdeep, where is the pen? Where is the pen? Here is a 60-year-old guy, but he taking a pen from my desk, then creating a fuss. You
have to be childlike.
He had that as a cartoonist. How else could you retain? Narrate din pe din aapko ek chota cartoon karna hai, and you thereby become a good observer. You see, if you are sitting in a studio, how are you going to observe what's happening on the ground?
So then, why are we all sitting in studios?
Because it is perhaps sad to say. Perhaps a low-cost way of doing news, right? You do a hour.
पर जो lifestyle आप लोग जी रहे हो वो lifestyle को low cost हो रही है.
No. Samdish, there's nothing wrong in sitting in a studio as long as you ensure that when you're sitting in a studio, you also give enough space to reports, which are done from the field. At my age, I cannot be in every part of the country, right?
I agree, yeah.
But your reporters can be. Unko jagah de do. You see, a lot of prime time is spent with the fighting spokespersons and not enough with your reporters who are actually out in the field.
Is there enough awareness of this?
Of course there is. I think there is. I think the profession realizes this. I think the intelligent people
जो 8, 9, 10 वाला slot कर रहे हैं उनको पता है.
हाँ बिल्कुल पता है. But
पर इससे TRP or whatever
अरे यार वो TRP भी मुझे लगता है, particularly in English, the only I've maintained this always. The only TRP that should matter for you is credibility and perception. English news में वैसे ही market छोटा है.
How much money does credibility make?
I think credibility makes a huge amount of money. Credibility is something which is unlike. That's the difference between news and entertainment. Entertainment you can say मुझे TRP चाहिए.
Sure.
In news I call it television respect points, not television rating points. Get your अच्छा. I've done a Modi. This is a Modi. You see वो acronym लेके मैंने कर दिया.
And that's why I'm saying you are completely in love with the man. You are copying style.
I'm learning यार.
Do you ever have dreams about him?
नहीं यार.
I'm not talking about the nature of dreams. Do you ever have dreams about him?
नहीं. Now you see, since you mentioned Modi ji, how he coined the acronym JAM.
Yeah.
Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile. ताकि Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile take the word and create a word like JAM.
Do you think he has a guy to do all of this?
Of course he has. He has a full team, but he's willing to improvise and adapt to it.
He's definitely.
Yaar Samdish socho, he is a politician who grew up in the Nav Nirman movement of the 1970s, of activist street politics. He's adjusted to the age of TV and multimedia. Look, he's all over the place. He's on Twitter, he's on Facebook. He knows how to use these media.
He was clearly the first mover. He was before you guys also.
Yeah, Mr. Modi was ahead of his times when it came to embracing social media and media in general. When in the 90s I was doing TV, he was more than willing to embrace that medium at a time when some other leaders were not sure, should I go on a live show, क्या होगा, कौन से सवाल पूछे जाएंगे. He was out there.
Does he smell good?
Does he? Where did that question come from? I don't.
You met him so many times. Does he smell good or not?
No, I've not met him in the last 10 years, so I don't know how he smells now. But all I remember is he always dressed well. He's a natty dresser.
He's laughing, right? Huh?
He's a natty dresser.
Natty क्या होता है?
Natty अच्छा यार, well dressed. मेरी तरह नहीं यार. His kurtas when I first met him were always starched.
You were also lit.
अरे मेरा क्या, मैं jeans पहनता हूँ. I'm the John Abraham of TV. I only wear jeans. I wish I looked like him, but I only.
एक अफवाह उड़ी थी एक टाइम पे कि राजदीप सरदेसाई ऊपर से कोट पैंट पहनता है और नीचे से शॉर्ट्स पहनता है. क्या ऐसा था आपका?
हाँ बिल्कुल. Sundays I would go to NDTV on some of the show, and there was this one occasion.
So the show
got over. Live show got over.
Short boxers या
those sometimes boxers.
It was above the knee.
Sometimes above the knee. Above the knee. Show gets over. Camera का जो jib movement है वो ऊपर जा रहा है. I thought the show was completely over. I got up, stretched. The world saw me, my not so nice legs. Yeah, it happened. Look, when you've been in TV for so long, you've seen all kinds of experiences in your life. This is one of those experiences. But look,
what is more embarrassing, the dancing or this?
For my kids, they think my dancing is awful. For me, this was pretty embarrassing at the time. But no, it's, yaar, dekho, I have not taken myself so seriously over the years. One of the reasons I think I've survived is that.
कभी फेज नहीं आया जब थोड़ा एरोगेंट हो गए जब आईबीएन शुरू हो रहा था यार राजदीप यार आप इकलौते थे जिसमें इतनी कुव्वत थी कि वो एनडीटीवी से छोड़ के गया उसने एक नया यू वर प्रोबेबली आफ्टर डॉक्टर रॉय द फर्स्ट सॉर्ट ऑफ एंड ही वाज आल्सो अ जर्नलिस्ट एट वन पॉइंट ही स्टिल इज बट यू वर द एंटरप्रेन्योरियल जर्नलिस्ट द फर्स्ट टू जंप शिप एंड स्टार्ट हिज ओन शिप सो डिड दैट नॉट वो नहीं है ऊपर कुछ तो होगा कि
ना I have a lot of weaknesses. I don't think being arrogant is one of them. I just don't.
नहीं तो कभी तो पैर स्लिप होता है
Of course it is. Of course.
वो कभी हुआ कि नहीं?
I'll tell you what. You know, we grumble about life and all. Recently, I was in Maharashtra and I met these soybean farmer loaders. The loaders. Man, you lift one sack of that, and it takes all your energies out. And they are lifting 50, 60 sacks a day and they get paid 400 or 500 bucks, some small amount. And then you realize, you know, you're very, very fortunate to be where you are. TV anchor studio में बैठा है, mic पकड़ के चल रहा है और पैसे मिल रहे हैं उसको और वो loader को 400-500 रुपए.
Are you guys paid crazy money?
No, not at all. I think TV changed the rules of the game. People got paid much more. But it's not crazy money. I mean, crazy money is what you pay lawyers to adjourn a case.
अब यार वो तो
एडजस्टमेंट के लिए मैं नहीं मिल रहा है ले लो यार साइन कर लो और पैसे निकाल लो and you can't even say no.
Not how much you are paid, but can you give me a ballpark of how much TV anchors are paid?
I have no idea.
समाज में ओपननेस बढ़ाओ राजदीप सरदेसाई ऐसा ना करो ऐसा.
अरे वो तो the worst thing is यार तुम्हारे सोशल मीडिया जनरेशन पर someone put up all the so called monies that anchors were paid.
क्या वो सच था?
अरे बिल्कुल झूठ. बिल्कुल झूठ.
उससे बहुत ज्यादा कमाते हो.
Only thing that I was lucky was because when I started, as you said, set up your own ship, and it wasn't me, it was others around me, Raghav Bell, Sameer Manchanda and others. Once it was set up, we went public, and there was a time when my stock was worth a hell of a lot of money. I typically, being a Maharashtrian, I didn't sell. I said, yeah, we'll see when my daughter gets married, I'll keep the money for that. But at the end of the day, so I was lucky. And that enabled me to buy a house. यार कौन सोचा था journalists can have a nice large house. You can do that today, which you couldn't do 30-40 years ago, even though they did probably much better journalism than I did. I think that's the opportunity your generation has got, and you need to seize it and take it to the next level.
ले जा रहे हैं
यार
एक बात बताऊं आपको पर एक सेकंड बता दूं राजदीप इस मुगालते में ना रही है कि सारे पॉडकास्टर सारे यूट्यूबर अच्छा कर रहे हैं
नहीं.
और ऐसे भी हैं राजदीप जो सरकार से पैसा भी ले लेंगे इंटरव्यू के लिए ऐसे भी हैं जो क्वेश्चनर भी दे देंगे ऐसे हैं जो एडिट पे भी कंट्रोल दे देंगे ऐसे भी लोग हैं.
There are also 400 TV news channels in this country. 400 हैं. अब उसमें कितने न्यूज कर रहे हैं कितने बाकी चीजें कर रहे हैं या न्यूज का गैर इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं.
कोई नाम बताओ.
Some are blackmailers.
नाम बताओ. Blackmailers in the news?
Of course.
How is the blackmail done?
One big company which is based in Jamshedpur was once told by one editor of a regional news channel we are going to carry a series of stories about how you are polluting Jamshedpur or the waters in Jamshedpur.
सीधा टाटा के खिलाफ ही obviously.
Unless you give us so much of advertising.
सीधा. और ये अभी हाल की बात है या कभी होता था अब नहीं होता?
नहीं. I'm sure it takes place in different forms. You've got this whole notion of private treaties, which one of India's biggest newspaper groups apparently promotes, wherein they say we will carry, we'll carry articles about a particular company. You give us stock or whatever in the company, or some kind of a share in the company to promote a company. I have no problem if it was branded content and you told the reader, this is branded content, no problem.
You're cheating the audience.
Otherwise, if you don't do it that way, you're cheating the audience, and that's happened. And a lot of these news channels, 400 news channel, कैसे survive करेंगे नहीं तो?
कहाँ होती है लाइन? कहाँ और क्या वो लाइन निरंतर हिल रही है? क्या समाज को समझ ही नहीं आ रहा है अब कि भाई लाइन है क्या? क्या आप जैसे विरले ही हैं जो एक पता नहीं एक फिक्टिशियस लाइन को लेके पकड़ के बैठे हुए हैं? क्या फायदा नहीं हो जाता है कि कोई एथिक्स का ना ही सोचें? कोई लाइन होती भी है कि नहीं होती है?
There is no look. I really honestly can't claim that politicians are our personal friends. It's very difficult to create personal friendships with
नहीं तो क्या आप कह
politicians.
रहे हो नहीं रखनी चाहिए या आपने नहीं रखी हैं?
Nahi rakhni chahiye is for each individual. Sometimes those friendships are very useful, right? That's how you cultivate
Source
sources.
बन जाता है,
In the sense of cultivating sources, you build friendships with politicians.
ठीक है।
I have found the friendship part tough because journalists and politicians use each other. Let me be very honest. There's an incestuous relationship. We you know, when it suits us, we go to them, cultivate them.
Sure.
Because we want an interview or we want a story. Some want it for other benefits.
वो लाइन क्रॉस कब होती है?
हो जाती है.
नहीं नहीं यार एग्जांपल दो ना, होती है, बताओ ना क्या अंदर क्या चलता है, कुछ बता के जाओ.
I can't say where exactly the line gets crossed, but it's up to each individual to
आपके
decide.
लिए कब होता है अनएथिकल, ये बता दो ना.
If there was a direct quid pro quo, कि आप मेरे बारे में ये लिखो, I will give you this, that kind of equation if it is built, that to my mind is where the line gets crossed. That then you're no longer a journalist, which is, you know, again each individual has to decide.
क्या ऐसा होता है?
Of course.
अभी भी होता है?
Of course, there was. I remember when I was president of Editors Guild, we did a report with the Election Commission of India on paid news,
Okay.
on how, you know, news was, headlines were being put before the elections in newspapers for a price. The Election Commission then decided to make it very clear that that would constitute an offence under the Representation of People's Act. Has it changed anything? I don't know. I can't say. It will be interesting to know how many people have actually stopped doing paid news who were doing it earlier. But the truth of the matter, it's a business model out there for many people.
वो तो ठीक है, पर वो उस अनएथिकल है ना आपके लिए.
बिल्कुल है.
अच्छा, अगर कोई बोले कि पैसा मिल रहा है, कमा रहे हैं यार, तो आप क्या बोलोगे?
Then
and if it's not inciting violence, और कल को मेरे पास, मैं अपना ही बताता हूँ आपको, एथिकल माइनफील्ड है जो मैं कर रहा हूँ, वो भी एक एथिकल माइनफील्ड है और मैं नहीं लेता हूँ ऐसा पैसा, पर कोई हार्मलेस सा पॉलिटिशियन किसी भी पार्टी का मेरे को बोले कि यार एक सॉफ्ट इंटरव्यू कर दो, you know, and good money is offered, sir, I can quote you that amount.
Yeah.
वो मैं आपको बता सकता हूँ कि
कितना मिलता है?
25-30 मिल सकता है आराम से.
1000 or lakhs?
Thousands? You look at the office, you look at my clothes, look at my shoes. Thousands? What are you saying? 25 lakhs I can make by interviewing a Rajya Sabha MP who is, you know, और ऐसा भी नहीं कि वो कोई बहुत बड़ी चीज़ है और मैं उनका सॉफ्ट इंटरव्यू कर दूंगा तो कोई दिक्कत, समाज में कुछ दिक्कत नहीं होगी, तो मैं क्यों ना कमाऊँ वो पैसा?
Look, as you said, it's an ethical minefield. I like the word you used.
Yeah.
You know,
It's not my. Some guest said it to me and I've taken it.
I was wondering.
I've taken it. Yeah.
But it's a nice word.
But you think I can't throw fancy words?
No. It's a nice. No.
It is a nice word.
It's a nice word, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. It's an
Yeah.
ethical minefield, which is why I was very cautious of saying that. I don't want to sit here on a pulpit and say, you know, this guy's unethical, this guy's ethical. I think each one of us has our own sort of Lakshman Rekha of things we will do and we won't do.
No, I know it's unethical. That's why I'm not taking that money. I want you to elaborate on उस केस में भी क्यों unethical है, जहाँ कुछ violence incite नहीं हो रहा, हिंदू मुस्लिम कुछ नहीं
No,
फैल
I'm
रहा.
saying please inform the viewer or reader. Tell the viewer this article is sponsored by so and so.
And if I don't, why am I in the wrong?
Because then the essential basis is your relationship that you have with your reader or your viewer. It's a very special relation
झूठ
based
बोल रहे
on
हो फिर.
trust. Right? Trust है. लोग आपको देख रहे हैं क्योंकि लोग आप पर विश्वास करते हैं. That is what credibility is. Credibility is built over years. ये कोई box office नहीं है. See, we are not doing some lungi dance, even though you think I dance, but in the show. But you know, it's not about Shah Rukh Khan. Shah Rukh Khan needs to see box office every Friday. Right? I don't think a journalist needs to. So a journalist needs to build trust with a viewer or a reader, which is built over 3-4 decades, you know, and that's what we are all about. We should be all about.
That should come first.
That should come first, yeah.
I think people should write in the comment section of this video, would they be okay with that kind of stuff?
I was very fortunate when I first started this profession. I had a wonderful resident editor, God's good man, Daryl DeMonte. You know, he set certain codes of behavior for all of us.
Where are these nice Catholic sounding names in journalism now? Because there used to be always these nice Christian sounding names.
You know, you're saying Christian, it's very interesting you're saying that. हमने एक किताब लिखी थी,
Okay.
When Bombay Burnt, after the 92-93 riots and blasts. Main writers, Clarence Fernandez, Naresh Fernandez, Daryl DeMonte, our editor.
बहुत सही.
And you know, there were lots of Christians, as there were from every group in our newsroom. You know, newsroom was a microcosm of what this country or what Mumbai was all about. हाँ कहाँ गए वो लोग? And nobody read our book called When Bombay Burned क्योंकि कोई हमें जानता नहीं था. Nobody interviewed us. There was no Samdish to interview us. And I
was still being conceived.
You were still being conceived. So we wrote this book, and I think it's a great document of those 3 months, which for me, frankly, Samdish, were the most traumatic months as a journalist. I mean, over the years, whatever I've done on TV, nothing has really made me as traumatized in a way, not even Gujarat 2002.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah,
yes.
because Gujarat 2002, yes, in a way, because my grandmother was living there in a building where 80-90% of the rest of the people were Muslim. In Gujarat,
at that point.
Yeah, so in Ahmedabad, my grandmother was living at the spot which divides sort of Hindu.
And she was Hindu?
She was Hindu, yeah, right. Mrs. Pant. Her husband was a former IG of police, the longest serving head of the police there. He had passed away. And all the Muslim families came to her, and she rang up the commissioner and said, if anyone does anything to any of them, I will hold you responsible. There was, I think Mr. P.C. Pandey was the police commissioner. She was quite a woman, my grandmother. And she was very clear on that. And she continued to live in that area. When a number of people left that area, she still stayed.
You were at Bombay, and how it traumatized
So this was Ahmedabad. So that it was traumatic in a way.
Why?
But
like
even so, Mumbai was more, because I had grown up there.
Yeah.
You know, man, I was a Mumbai boy, a South Mumbai kid, and I think the riots woke me up.
And what did it do to you to see your city burning like that?
It was traumatic. I mean, I'll never forget some of the sights in Antop Hill, in Bandra, seeing some of the, and remember it was pre-TV, so I didn't have I can't give you the visual imagery like I can give you of Gujarat. But there were these guys going with these swords in their hand, and it was
mad.
Huh?
Yeah,
of course. I mean, I to me, that was, in that sense, far more traumatic, because as I said, I had grown in cosmopolitan South Mumbai. I was the towny South Mumbai kid, went to an elite institution. Now I'm going to parts of the city, Devnar, Behrampada, Antop Hill, and suddenly seeing people's houses being burned. It wasn't easy, right? A lot of people only talk about my 2002 riot coverage because it was in the age of TV. 92, 93, out there, I was, in leading a team of fantastic young reporters. But we were out there almost every day, documenting what was happening.
आप जो देख रहे थे वो आपको कैसे affect कर रहा था?
It was affecting me because I was being woken up from the reality, from my sort of imagined dream of a Mumbai of everyone.
और एक romanticized India जो
romanticized Mumbai भी,
हाँ,
romanticized Mumbai.
वो उस वक्त टूटा.
बिल्कुल टूटा. That romance. And now every time I go through Mumbai, I remember some parts from what I remember then. Mohammad Ali Road, where it happened, kis cafe mein kya hua tha, where I saw bullets. And I wanted to tell you, interestingly, I took my kids to see this film Sanju many years later. And they were by then 20, in their 20s. And my daughter asked me as we came out of the theatre, all this really happened? This AK-47 and all. And it was again just remembering those days, meeting Sunil Dutt saying, my son is actually innocent. He was just scared. I said, even if you're scared, you don't keep AK-47s in such large numbers or consignment.
This is during the riots.
Yeah,
you met
during
Sunil
the riots. Yeah, Sunil Dutt, I used to meet in those days. I mean, I met him a few days after Sanju was arrested. Yeah, and he was trying to explain what Sanjay Dutt was going through. But the truth of the matter is, I think it scarred Mumbai. All of these riots and all leave their impact well beyond that time. It's like when I come, I in Panchil Park, when I walk, there are Sadaji friends who lost their shops, who lost their loved ones during 84. I struggle sometimes to meet them in the eye. I can see they're very wonderful people. And to think that someone should have his shop attacked or be family members attacked only because they belong to a religious community. I'm coming back to what is a favorite topic for me, but I favorite because it angers me, and I can't accept that this is the that this should ever happen in India to anyone.
And why do you think? कभी सोचा तो होगा आपने कि ये क्या सोच है जो किसी को तलवार उठाने पे या जो भी हथियार उठाया हो
यार धर्म के नाम पे
नहीं लेकिन यार ऐसा तो नहीं है ना कि वो किसी और दुनिया से आते हैं. वो हमारे ही शहर में वो आदमी है जो तलवार उठा के किसी की गर्दन काट सकता है.
Because
what leads to that?
You see, in our lives there
क्योंकि ये बहुत आसान है बोलना कि वो अलग हैं, हम अलग हैं. ये तो सबसे आसान है बोलना.
वही तो शुरू होता है, the othering of someone else, right? You get a sense of security or sense of authority in amongst your own. This whole identity politics. I think identity politics is at the core of creating the beginning of hatred towards the other.
Yeah, but politics से ज़्यादा कुछ होगा कुछ. It has to be more social.
But let me tell you this, and I think that's the positive. For all of this, I've also met some wonderful people in all these places, whether it's Mumbai, Ahmedabad, and other places who've stood firm, who've really, done, said over my dead body. Sunil Gavaskar, during those riots in Mumbai, he apparently saw a family which was being surrounded by, I think, a mob. He went down and said, and protected that family. That, to my mind, is far more important to me than the centuries he made. Bishan Singh Bedi, after the 84 riots, someone from the cricket board or one of his friends told him, an IS officer told him that, Bedi ji, you should now leave the country. You're not safe anymore. He said, that day I decided I will live here. This is my country. A bit like Rahat Indori's, kisi kya baap ka hai, ye mera Hindustan hai. Kaun ho tum to tell me that I can't? So I think these are the moments, these are the people I have great respect for, because when you're a celebrity, it's very easy to also, some of our celebrities often are the weakest people when it comes to maintaining a moral compass. But there are celebrities who have stood their ground. Hats off to the few who have, because you're tested at times like this. You have to stand up to power and say unacceptable. My grandmother stands out for me. It wasn't easy, because she was in Ahmedabad. She was in a Muslim-dominated area in Kanpur. Ironically, the BJP office was just behind that at the time. She could have left the people in her colony in a way abandoned. And they still, therefore, when I go there, she passed away years ago. We sold the house, her flat that she had. But when I go, the people of that area still come and, through them I see her. So, my granddad told me something. He was a cop, her husband. He said, no riot takes place without the incompetence or complicity of those in power. Ya to aap incompetent ho, ya complicit ho, ya both. Whether it's 84, whether it's 92, 93, whether it's 2002, whether it's what happened even in the past. There have been terrible riots in this country. Unfortunately, kya hua hai na, whataboutry hoti hai. Every time I mention something about Gujarat, but where were you in 84? I said, yeah, in 84 I was like Samdish, a 19-year-old. In college. Then we do some kind of a scorecard. Itne log mare, itne log is community se mare, as if we are playing some cricket match out. No, it's not a cricket match, they're human lives. And it's the innocent who suffer. And many of these places now in Mumbai, where a lot of these high rises have come, and the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, then Sudhakar Naik, told me, he said the underworld's role, the second wave of riots Mumbai mein hue the 93, it was the underworld who was involved, deeply involved in it. And it was done to drive out people from some of those slum pockets so that you could today build all these imperious high rises. That's the story in a way of Mumbai. Ek din is par kitab likhni hai ya is par ek picture banani hai. Now, these are stories to be told.
Sure.
I tell a story which got me into huge amounts of trouble and will probably get me into trouble again. Dawood Ibrahim.
Mm-hmm. You've spoken on the phone?
I've spoken on the phone to his people. To Chota Shakil once rang me up and insisted that I do an interview with him that night. He had, I think one of those.
How did he sound like?
Like normal, yeah. He did the sort of whatever Mumbai accent.
ठीक है.
So वो studio में उसके साथ जाकर.
You've spoken to Chota Shakil?
Many of them.
Okay.
In those days, those dons, in the 90s, you had a lot of these dons coming on TV. Chota Rajan, Chota Shakil, all of them. But the Dawood story is quite simply this. I wrote a piece called Muslims and the Blast after the 93 Mumbai blast, which for me was the most traumatic day individually as a journalist. To see my city being blasted, we had no idea what is RDX.
I completely get that emotion.
And it is before mobile age, and I think 2611 almost comes close to it because I lost friends there. But the blast take place. Dawood Ibrahim is the main conspirator. Now, what I was trying to get my head around was the fact that 6 months earlier, in September of 92, Sharjah mein, and I had gone there to...
he was watching the match.
He was watching the match and he was supporting the Indian team, waving an Indian flag. And my point was that when today you are saying define nationalism as whether during India-Pakistan match do you wave an Indian flag or Pakistani flag. By that token, Dawood was an Indian patriot. India versus Pakistan, and you can get all the cricket team. He apparently promised them Toyota cars if they defeated Pakistan. So you're doing that in September of 92. Come March of 93, you're blasting the city of your, where you've grown up in. What changed? That's all my article was. That, it's very easy to sort of label someone and say, wo nationalist hai, wo nahi hai. I was raising, look at how your low level of your definition of patriotism is कि Indian flag wave कर लो and you will, if you're an Indian Muslim, and you will be treated as a patriot. By that token, Dawood was a patriot because that's what he was doing. But what changed? The only thing that changed was the masjid was demolished. And that changed a lot of things. We still live through the scars. Even 26/11, apparently one of the terrorists, and this is what is told to me again by one of the survivors, said, आप लोगों ने हमारी मस्जिद गिराई. This is 26/11 in 2008, 16 years after Babri Masjid. And I lost friends in 26/11, school friends.
Hate does bring with it more hate.
That's what I said. So that's been a recurring theme in my various in my angst. As
I have 12 minutes to go now.
You have 12 minutes to go. Your time starts now.
I'll do quick questions. Is there a hierarchy between Kamal and you? Or no? There is no. Because
where is that coming? Again,
देखो आप क्रिकेट की एनालॉजी देते हो ना. आप तो for Virat to play under Jasprit Bumrah, like
why not?
So how is the equation between you and Rahul?
There is. I mean, I can give you the example of election day. Most people love it.
We love
the fact that there is, and I think there is some chemistry in those equations.
I think that's the only election newsroom left right now.
Yeah, no, and to the credit, most of those graphics, Rahul Kanwal himself sits with the background team to put them
Karthik
together.
and I have had a full conversation about how good Rahul is with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he's very good.
Is there hierarchy? How do you assess him as an anchor? Anchor to anchor, man to man, batao.
No, you've asked me about. No, Rahul is a very, very capable anchor, damn good anchor.
Any people in your profession, maybe in your network on the Hindi channel, maybe, who you, मतलब उनका आप ज़मीर मैच नहीं हो पाता आपका कि ये बंदा थोड़ा shady आदमी भाई, ये hatred फैलाता है. You know, not talking about any. Like I have a cousin whose name is Sudhir. He watches a lot of Aaj Tak. His actual name is Sudhir. So.
No, look, I'll tell you this, Samdish.
Yeah.
There are institutional systemic problems with our profession. To single out one person and say, you are responsible, teri wajah se ye
Chalo, agar naam na le.
I will say this, and I've said it in the book. People need to look within, into their conscience. Are they doing what they think is based on constitutional values? Or are they catering to the worst instincts of most of us? Are they trying to bring out the best in us or the worst in us? And some of the words, and I've given you an example in the book, and I'll tell you this. What I've said, I have no problem sort of speaking out on. Corona Jihad. ये जो word हुआ था, तबलीगी जमात की एक meeting हुई, and there was this attack on the tabligis that you are corona spreaders.
Sure.
And suddenly you found even Muslim vegetable vendors being boycotted even in some of our cooperative societies.
Sure.
As if they were the only people who were spreading corona, when actually the truth was.
I don't know why people think Muslims have this fascination about licking your stuff. What the fuck is on with that?
Yeah, and no, the crazy thing of it, forget that. Crazy thing is that you've gone and targeted them as corona carriers. As if, this Tablighi Jamaat congregation was responsible for the spread of COVID across the country, which is not true. A year later, there's a Kumbh Mela held before COVID too, where the entire state machinery is involved, where the chief minister, everyone is taking dips, not observing holy, social distancing, right? Big advertisements about it. Nobody called that Kumbh Mela, that the Kumbh Mela is a corona, what would you say?
Spreader jo bhi
hai. It was clearly negligence of the highest order to do so, willful negligence.
नहीं सही कह रहे हो
right?
और
yet no one,
even the political rallies, उस time कुछ तो election चल रहा था second wave से पहले मुझे याद है.
There were rallies across. There was
crazy.
Kerala, Bengal, Tamil Nadu.
And it was so scary for us to cover those because we were the only ones wearing the masks.
There was a cricket match held in Ahmedabad, England, I think, with a large audience.
Great stadium.
Because by January, February, the health minister Harshvardhan was saying we have conquered COVID.
और उसके बाद
and therefore we had and then we had COVID too after 2-3 months. And as I have a chapter in the book, there needs to be some accountability. This country needs to know how many people died during COVID.
I have interviewed Mr. Gadkari and I asked him कि कोई ऑक्सीजन की कमी से नहीं मरा है कैसे बोल सकती है सरकार. So he was fighting me over it, but ultimately he said, dude, just ask the health minister. I can't say anything. That's the most that he could say. Well, how can you say that no one died because of a lack of oxygen? मतलब वो तो हमने खुद आंखों से देखा है.
No, I think there's been a huge element of denialism.
Do you in private setting address these things with some people that you might chill with?
Boss, very fact, Samdish, that I've gone and written it in the book. At least says I put it out there. Now, I that's all I can do as a journalist, but I have spoken to people and, there obviously no one wants to speak. As I said, we discussed this earlier. हमारे देश में, let's talk openly about where we blundered on COVID.
सरकार का ढांचे
You
गिर
can't
जाएगा.
do it. Na? The moment you do it, someone will say, this is anti-national. That's the problem. That was not there when I started off in this
How do you
profession.
open up as a society, Rajdeep? How do we open up more?
With people like you, or
वो तो है ही है.
यार तू तो बड़ा relaxed. Look at the way, यार. This is the new generation.
Is this not
I
fine with you?
told
Is this
Samdish-
not fine with you?
Huh? No, this is fine.
I feel like I'm comfortable.
I mean, you can look at me sort of properly.
अरे तो बैठो ना आराम से, आप जूते उतारो ना. You can keep your feet here also. I'm fine with it.
By the way,
Oh, Rajdeep, how unparliamentary.
by the way, we've got the same shoes. Onitsuka Tiger.
Onitsuka Tiger. ऐसा बोलना.
Onitsuka
नहीं
Tiger.
नहीं नहीं.
But I've
Onitsuka.
got the ones without lace because when I was in school, my friends would always make fun of me because I didn't tie my laces properly.
आपको size क्या?
मेरा size है 10.
UK 9.
UK 9.
Let's see my size.
I think India 10, no? That is.
UK 9 same. हम दोनों same size.
But I don't want a shoe with laces.
No, all right. आपको laces ठीक से नहीं बांधते.
I want the same shoes without the laces.
Sure. I think they're really good. I bought them yesterday.
So where did you school and college?
Sardar Patel Vidyalaya near
Achha.
Khan Market. I went there. I was also in a small school before that, but I never mentioned it because I want to sound posh.
College?
College Kirodimal, North Campus.
अच्छा किरोड़ीमल में ये गए थे who went अमिताभ और शाहरुख
Amitabh Kulbhushan. Shahrukh was in Hansraj.
शाहरुख is हंसराज
Yeah.
अमिताभ कुलभूषण खरबंदा
Naveen Patnaik is from my college.
नवीन पटनायक is किरोड़ीमल
Yes, sir.
अरे वाह
ऐसे ही थोड़ी बैठ जाता हूँ comfortable होके.
नहीं that's right once you sit Naveen Patnaik is a good example
At the
like,
time when I
like
was-
Prime Minister Modi once they sit on the chair they don't give up the chair.
That is true. And then they have to get a Tamil guy to destroy that whole thing.
I know yeah.
What happened there? Who the fuck?
That's
is
one
that?
of my stories in the book but it is actually when you think about it had that not happened, had Odisha not gone the BJP's way, Prime Minister Modi may not have been the Prime Minister of the country. So that one Pandian mistake cost them, probably. This is
एकदम goosebumps आ गए आपने जब ये बोला ना. नहीं मतलब पता नहीं एक टाइप की खुशी हुई मुझे.
नहीं कोई
आपको तो पर
no,
तो
as a journalist, I find these. I'll give you an example.
So is this an Odia girl?
No, she's. I think she's somewhere from the northeast, but I'm not sure.
All right.
These are the things I find fascinating. 2004 में जब कांग्रेस की सरकार बनी, it only happened because of one mistake. Vajpayee went with Jayalalitha and not with DMK. Broken alliance with DMK, went with Jayalalitha.
Yeah.
Jayalalitha lost. Vajpayee brought the elections forward by 5 months because Chandrababu Naidu wanted him to bring it forward by 5 months because he wanted to take advantage of the so-called sympathy wave after he'd been attacked by Naxalites. Didn't work in Andhra, didn't work in Tamil Nadu, they lost India.
It's fascinating how some movements just define the near
But,
future.
I keep thinking, Indira Gandhi,
Yeah.
seen as the big leader of her times.
Sure.
If Lal Bahadur Shastri had not died in Tashkent,
Yeah.
who knows where Indira Gandhi would have been, right? She may have given up on politics.
It's-
There are lots of such moments in life here.
I feel.
Narendra Modi ji,
Uh-huh.
imagine if Pramod Mahajan was still alive.
Sure.
Right? Pramod Mahajan was, at that time, if you ask me in the early 2000s, who's going to be the leader to succeed Vajpayee or next generation, you would have put Pramod Mahajan. Pramod Mahajan killed by his own brother, shot dead by his own brother.
That was crazy news.
Crazy news. So, anything, who knows what tomorrow brings.
I often think about the YSR helicopter crash because I think that's also a crucial turning point.
No, YSR's, you see, there would have been no Telangana
Bilkul.
if YSR was not there, and maybe Congress would have still
Congress
been
would
the
have had a
dominant
whole-
party
a
of a very
big
big
South
state.
Indian state, yeah.
So things change in ways that are unimaginable at times.
काफी fascinating है.
And कौन जाने जिंदगी एक सफर है सुहाना यहाँ कल क्या
ऐसे नहीं गा के सुनाना होता है.
ये मैं ट्राई कर सकता हूँ. I'm a bathroom singer.
आ जाओ यार.
But the one person I would have loved to interview, you would have been great with Kishore. He would have shown you what an interviewee is. I've never done it, but I've just imagined
I
what
think
he
you're
would
doing a
be
good job at being a guest.
जिंदगी एक सफर है सुहाना यहाँ कल क्या हो किसने जाना. Now comes the tough part.
I like it. Yeah, I want that.
Then Kishore does that. I can't.
No,
do.
but I want the.
Udle. That is important. That is only a master of yodeling. I mean, when I think of Kishore, that's when I get goosebumps. Thinking of him.
Did you ever meet him?
I never met him. I would love him to come into this room and interview him because I once went. I was a student at Oxford, and I went to a Wembley concert of Asha Bhosle with RD. RD was magic, yeah, because I knew Asha ji's son-in-law well. He played cricket with me. So they'd invited me a few hours before the concert and I was just watching RD jam. And I haven't seen that man. The guy was magic. He was magic, man. He was magic. he just loved. किसी में वो, as I said ना, म्यूजिक और स्पोर्ट वो अंदर से आती है. सचिन तेंदुलकर को देखो बैटिंग करते.
You are envious of sports people and musicians.
Because
you are definitely, if not jealous, you are definitely.
I'm jealous.
You are jealous.
I'm jealous of. I have a terrible voice. So I wonder how.
You don't have a terrible voice. You have a pathetic voice.
Absolutely.
It doesn't
Absolutely.
joke. It was a joke.
No, it is absolutely right. I have a pathetic voice, and I wanted to be Sunil Gavaskar. Forget about, I couldn't be. I met Sachin first as a 9-year-old. Trust me, because his brother used to play with us. I have not seen, at 9 years, he hit the ball harder than I did at 15. I'm about 6-7 years older than him. Just magic. Magic. वो भगवान ने दिया है.
आयला.
आयला.
एक बार करो ना आयला.
आयला. वो भगवान ने दिया है.
एक बार बोलो आयला सचिन.
नहीं.
करना है. राजेश, your views, book की sales, सोचो जरा.
यार इस इंटरव्यू के बाद जितने भी सेल्स होने वाले थे वो भी से यार राजदीप नॉन सीरियस पर्सन, what's he writing this serious book about?
You have to be non-serious to sell books.
No, my
any book in the market is very valuable.
Oh, what is this book? Again, you picked up Exam Warriors.
Yes, I think it's a fascinating. Just look at your cover and his cover. Just look at what is more like attractive.
But look at the chutzpah of the man, the gumption of the man, that he's be able to tell you that how to crack an exam.
Yeah.
You've got to give him. He's ready to do whatever it takes. Even that audience.
And it's full of tasks. Have you read it?
No,
it's full of tasks that you have to do.
Yeah, but the fact that he's done it, he's उसको भी एक वो audience चाहिए.
I think
he wants even kids are a constituency for him.
Oh, for sure.
Because 20 years from now, when he's still around, they'll be ready to vote.
That's what they're honing. मुझे याद है 2014 में जब वो जीते थे, शपथ नहीं हुई थी. I think he was addressing सूरत में, अहमदाबाद में he was addressing, and he said कि छोटे-छोटे बच्चे भी मोदी कर रहे हैं तो 15-20 साल तक भी मैं रहने वाला हूँ. I think that's what he said when he first became the prime minister.
No, I give a story in the book about how once Mr. Modi is on a chair, वो chair छोड़नी नहीं है. He's been around in politics for 50 years.
How has he never lost an election? That's crazy, no? Has anyone had that perfect record? He's never lost.
Yeah, Naveen Patnaik had it till this election. This was the first time Naveen lost.
I often think about, and I'm not wishing for it to happen, just as a curious thinker, I often think about what would happen to the man if he lost an election. I think it'll be very hard for him to take.
Yeah, it would be, but let's give him credit for having, in today's world of this year there were 65 elections around the world. Around 50 odd of the incumbents lost. So this was an anti-incumbency, a background of COVID, falling incomes, jobs are a major issue. There's been a restlessness and anger across the world, expressed in different forms. Mr. Modi survived.
Fair to say that he's been absolved of doing anything wrong in 2002? Fair to say that? Because you've covered it. मतलब मेरे को नहीं पता यार वो SIT क्या बोल गई, क्या कौन सी कमीशन ने क्या बोला, आप बताओ मेरे को.
The judiciary has absolved him, and so has the SIT.
Absolved
him, yeah. They've absolved him. I mean, there are people like Zakia Jafri who are still trying to fight their cases in court. She lost her husband in the
riots.
riots.
वो substance है कि नहीं और वो अलग बात है. लेकिन judiciary ने बोल दिया कि कुछ नहीं किया था.
Yeah.
है ना?
Yeah.
ये जो argument आता है कि because 2002 is essential to your career also, I think, to everything that's happening right now. 2002 remains essential. In a way, monster bole, beast bole, the star bole was created then. He was created then. And you guys played an essential part in what happened. Now whether that was right or wrong, वो एक अलग बात है. The argument that, hey, and what Vajpayee also told you, कि मैंने वो नहीं देखा था कि हिंदुओं को कैसे जलाया गया. इसलिए मैंने अहमदाबाद में कुछ और बोला, गोवा में कुछ और बोला. Is what he told you. Do you think not enough coverage was done of what was done to Hindus?
Look, chronology समझिए.
ठीक है. अच्छा ये आपने बहुत अच्छा किया.
Chronology समझिए.
Yeah.
27 फरवरी को ट्रेन जलाई जाती है. I still remember, one of the things I remember, 9:30 in the morning I got a call. I still remember my friend Deepak Rajani, stringer, crime reporter in Gujarat. Rings me up, Rajdeep, आ थयू छे, गोधरा में ये हुआ है. मैंने कहा ठीक है. Our reporter from Ahmedabad rushed to Godhra. 2, 3, 4 hours went there. 27 लोगों, whatever, 56 people had, car sevaks had tragically died. 27th of February. That night we did a show about it, terrible, whatever has happened. VHP had declared a bandh. Next day was the budget, union budget. Now normally when Prannoy Roy did the budget, whole team at Parliament. That night I got a call from, we had treated that as a terrible attack on the, but our Ahmedabad reporter was covering it.
Did you guys treat it as a communal thing or just an attack on a train?
No, we treated it as we didn't know enough. The
Got
details
it.
were
Cool.
still coming. It's
Okay.
day one. That's why I'm saying chronology samajhiye.
Ji.
But car sevaks had been attacked. So there was clearly the possibility that this was a terrible communal attack on Hindus.
ठीक है.
Right? By Godra's Muslims. That's how it was positioned. A reporter that had gone, another junior reporter had been sent, 2 reporters had gone because we were supposed to be focusing on the budget the next day.
ठीक है.
That night we did a show. Just after the show got over, I got a call from one of my grandfather's police officers, juniors, who was now senior, saying, Rajdeep, tomorrow there's a VHP Bandh here, there could be trouble. On that instinct, I rang up Dr. Roy and said, sir, I would like to go next morning to Ahmedabad.
ठीक है.
I left next morning to Ahmedabad. Another colleague of mine left a little earlier, Nalin Mehta, next morning. And so, by the time we reached, we were in Ahmedabad. By then, the riots had broken out.
Okay.
So, there was no, you see, 27th of February, terrible, dastardly, beastly that it was, the killing of car sevaks, unacceptable, was followed almost within less than 24 hours by 28th February. And 28th February was far more heinous in terms of just the scale. Now, मैं उस समय अहमदाबाद में हूँ, right?
How old are you at this point?
I am 38.
All right.
37.
ठीक है.
But I'm just saying that it's taken over from what happened on 27. Now, I can't, you see, then you're caught in a cycle of attacks. Gulbarg Society, Naroda Patia, Sardarpura, various places things are going around. What do? Godhra, the action, as one politician said, has been followed by such a disproportionate reaction that the reaction has taken over everything. Then people are in refugee camps. You do the stories about hindsight, again hindsight.
Of course.
In hindsight, you could argue we could have also done much more about the car sevaks who died. But that's in hindsight. Please, I'm just giving the chronology as a journalist.
Cool. Hindsight छोड़ते हैं.
And their stories were told. When I did 10 years after Godhra, 2012, I told both the stories.
All right.
Because then I had
That's good on you.
I had the time to go back to people who had suffered.
Any ethical conflicts at that point? Because that's a huge moment in India's history.
What ethical conflicts?
When I saw what happened in Delhi in 2020, that broke my heart. Because I saw my city burning. So I can fully relate to what you're saying. But while one reports from on the ground, when heads are actually being chopped off, there are always questions you have to yourself, no? कि क्या मैं जो दिखा रहा हूँ वो पूर्णतः सच है? क्या मुझे 4 और चीजें दिखानी चाहिए इसके साथ?
No, that's a very good point. And I think, as I said, one of the ethical dilemmas we had was you're reporting a live situation. If you're going to have a shot of someone throwing acid on someone else in the neighborhood, and you remember this was, and we were uplinking that stuff in Delhi.
Yeah.
How much do you edit and how much do you not? I was caught just close to where my grandmother lived in Daryapur, in a situation where neighbors were throwing stones at each other. Eventually a petrol bomb was shown which just missed my camera person Narendra Gudavli. He would not be there if that petrol bomb. Yeah, and it exploded there. So there was, and we got, I think the imagery was so strong that we put out those visuals. Now you could
उससे hatred बढ़ती भी है.
So you could argue in hindsight, could we have been a little more cautious? Because we were in a live communal riot situation. The same argument was made against those who covered 26/11.
Yeah, of course.
Are you sort of giving a platform to the terrorists to sort of know what the security forces are doing because you're reporting in sort of day to day?
I'll interview Barkha later.
Yeah, that's her. You ask her about her ethical dilemmas. Again, I always tend to empathize with journalists in those live situations. It's not easy.
Because Rajdeep, I have stuff from Manipur right now in which people are just spewing hate. I have intentionally just put out the stuff in which they're asking for peace.
Yeah, but you see, remember we were in a 24/7 breaking news channel.
I'm not saying that. मैं ये नहीं बोल रहा हूँ मैं सही कर रहा हूँ आपने गलत किया. I'm just.
But I think these are all ethical dilemmas, and I think these are dilemmas that confront journalists.
Yeah.
It's easier to sit on a sofa or in a television studio and sort of diss the journalist.
Absolutely.
Each one of them is going through them. Unfortunately, our memories are very short. अब दिल्ली का तुमने जिक्र किया, it happened in 2020. It's almost like it's forgotten, right? And yet when I think about it, there are people who still are awaiting trial. There are cases. People don't get justice in all these cases. Mumbai में इतने लोग मारे गए, more than 1,000 people. I don't think more than 20-25 were eventually convicted, if at all. Right? The numbers are very small. Similarly, Delhi 1984, more than 3,000 died. How many people convicted? How many people got their shops back? I mean, these are
in the Delhi riots. Including Umar Khalid, a lot of people just lying in jails without trial.
Umar's case, I think, is a classic example of our judiciary at work.
Judiciary at work.
Yeah, I mean, you will open the doors of the courts on a vacation day to give bail to a journalist, but you will not do it for Umar Khalid. You will not even hear the case in the manner that it should be. You just throw it back to the lower courts, and in lower courts, bail is almost impossible to get in a UAPA case. और आपने UAPA उस पर लगा दिया. So he's become a symbol of the so-called anti-national forces for the Indian.
I think the problem is his name.
Of course it is. I mean, and then what they'll tell you, what about Sadhvi Pragya? She was also in jail for so many years. You see, each case is distinct to the other, and if you are going to engage in whataboutery or Colonel Purohit, then you're not doing justice to you're not serving the cause of justice.
What are the claims of the Modi government or the BJP government that an average citizen should concede? क्या वो 2-3 चीजें जो अच्छी करता है बीजेपी और मोदी सरकार जो सबको मान लेनी चाहिए?
I think the use of technology to ensure better delivery of services.
ठीक है, 1 second.
Right? One. Number 2, infrastructure. I think he's speeded up infrastructure much faster than previous governments have. He's used one-way communication, man ki baat, ye wo, but he keeps people constantly energized, throwing some new idea,
and he knows what's happening on the ground.
Yeah. So I think, look, when you've been in politics for 50 years, I think one of the abilities you have is narrative setting.
ठीक है.
आप जानते हो narrative कैसे set करना है. Vaccine,
not every veteran politician knows how to do it.
Yeah, of course, but think about it. COVID-2 was quickly forgotten because vaccine आ गया.
ठीक है.
Demonetization was quickly forgotten because suddenly we were supposed to be this great digital economy. So you forgot all the pain points that people had gone through. So the ability to quickly shift narrative, to be nimble in that sense.
Will we ever understand why it happened?
What?
Demonetization.
अभी तो मुझे यही कहा जाता है, it speeded up the onset of the digital economy.
It did, of course it did.
Yeah, but that was not the original goal. The original goal was to finish up black money.
He was playing with you. He knew it. He didn't tell it to you.
The amount of monies that are floating around that politicians tell me off camera, in private, कि कितना पैसा वो चुनाव पे लगाते हैं.
How dirty is Indian politics right now? Heinous crimes हो जाते हैं?
नहीं, money.
Heinous crimes होते हैं? चाकू घोप दिया?
नहीं, वो मुझे लगता है there was this tragic sort of assassination of Baba Siddiqui the other day.
क्या हुआ Rajdeep?
Nobody knows.
बॉम्बे के बीच?
It's not clear.
ये लॉरेंस बिश्नोई क्या है?
ये है क्या ये समदीश क्या है उसी तरह से लॉरेंस बिश्नोई अनयूजुअल कैरेक्टर्स.
तुम यार एक सेकंड.
यार देखो
आप 9 बजे वाले हो. नहीं बाबा, आप 9 बजे वाले हो. आप बताओगे ना दुनिया को लॉरेंस बिश्नोई.
Lawrence Bishnoi is a classic example of how even the underworld has been changed. You see, I was told कि दाऊद के गैंग में और ये अलग गैंग में थोड़ी लॉयल्टी हुआ करती थी. There was दाऊद गैंग and you knew, as I said, छोटा शकील असिस्टेंट है ये वो. Lawrence Bishnoi के गैंग में कौन कहाँ, nobody. It's a gang of freelancers. Here is someone sitting in Sabarmati jail, and in his name, different guys are doing different things across the world and transnational. Not even in India. वो कोई कनाडा में कर रहा है कोई. He's a transnational don sitting in Sabarmati jail with a gang of freelancers who apparently paid small amounts of money to do specific hits. They don't know who they are. They only know the immediate boss who's given them the contract.
They don't know who they're ultimately working for.
They don't know who they're ultimately working for. So it's a very loose model.
Is there something that journalists could learn from this model of business?
No, I think there's something all of us could learn.
Yeah,
that, we keep ourselves sort of complete deniability. मुझे तो जानता ही नहीं ये कौन है. The failures at one level of our systems, that such gangsters are used to settle scores. But that, when you mentioned how dirty it is, I maintain the real dirt that comes out is the complete moral deprivation. आप मेरे सोचो, मेरे home state में महाराष्ट्र में 1 in every 3 MLAs on an average has been in more than one party over the last 10 years.
महाराष्ट्र की politics तो कुछ अजीब ही है.
एक दिन आप किसी को, you say he's the epitome of corruption, next day he's become your ally. You say you're going to put him in jail, next day he's your ally. And it happens around, it's happening across the board. And across the country.
Favorite country apart from India?
Favorite country, as I said, as a cricket fan, Australia. Favorite country to go as a journalist? Guess.
Pakistan. Of course.
The only
Of
country
course, dude.
obsessed with India.
Yeah.
Only country obsessed with India. I mean, I have had the most wonderful time
Well, I would
covering
say apart from
Pakistan.
Canada now.
and in my own way, I guess
How many times have you been? Only on the bus?
Nahi yaar.
Fir?
I went about 10, 12 times. Between 95 and 2003, I traveled.
And who were you meeting in Pakistan?
Yaar, kya
What were you
baat
planning against
hai? What was
India?
I planning?
Yeah.
I'll never forget. My favorite trip out of that was in Karachi. Because there was this, we went for a
मैं
rock.
सुना कराची की बिरयानी के सामने इंडिया कोई बिरयानी कुछ
नहीं
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 है
ऐसा
मैंने
कुछ
सुना है
नहीं. No,
नहीं, सच
no.
बोलो.
Nawaz Sharif once told me, he gave me a great meal, and after that says, I said, sir, thank you for a wonderful meal. He said, हाँ लेकिन आपके दिल्ली में जो गाजर हलवा मिलता है ना, he was a real foodie.
Yeah.
But Karachi, good food, but you know, Mumbai's street food. Mumbai and Karachi are like twin cities.
और सुनाइए
बस यार.
और कुछ बात.
Thank you very much.
नहीं कोई नहीं मैं कहूंगा तब उठोगे ऐसे तो
अरे
you are not a
Okay.
शहजाद पुणे वाला, you can't just leave whenever.
I'm going to walk out. Shazia Ilmi walked out of my show and then filed a defamation case against me.
When the thing happened with Karan and
Modi. When,
it was IBN only, no? IBN पे ही तो थे.
अच्छा ऐसा था, एक ग्लास पानी था.
दोस्ती बनी रहे. Did you guys laugh your asses off?
Samdish, दोस्ती बनी रहे. Thank you.
No, but Rajdeep,
दोस्ती
जब वो हुआ, did you laugh your asses off?
No, I didn't.
So then what happened? How did you guys react to it?
No, I actually, when Karan rang me up, and I've said this before, I rang up Mr. Modi. And,
Oh, you did?
And I said, sir, we just come back. We won't run whatever's been done.
When
We'll
he
start
left-
anew.
अच्छा,
We'll
ठीक
start the show on the. No one will know whether you walked out or not. He said, नहीं जो हुआ गलत हुआ है. And that was that.
He was angry?
We were obviously angry. And next day we ran it as, the headline became Mr. Modi walks out of a show when it could well have become just a proper interview done.
Yeah.
Had he come back.
सही बात है.
And I think that's the one occasion where if I was him, I would have done that.
आपने कभी सोचा कि चलाते ही नहीं यार? कभी ऐसा नहीं सोचा?
You know, वो journalist का कीड़ा ये होता है यार. This is, you know, I knew this was going to make the headlines.
It did.
It did.
It's a huge fucking event even till now.
Yeah, and you know, and Karan was also ready to do it again.
Okay.
I had told Karan, यार soft question पहले पूछ लो. Whatever a hard question.
Karan also started with like fire.
तो bulldozer है यार. वो अपने तरीके का, you know, he doesn't. Sorry, that's his.
He's one of a
trademark.
kind. Yeah.
He's one of his kind. He saw it as an opportunity. But he was ready to do it again. Very few people know it. It wasn't as if we were, you know, that we were saying that we would only air that, or there was no conspiracy or anything. And you know, it's unfortunate. I keep saying this, Samdish, and I know there are those who say, you know, as you said, you're obsessed with Modi. I'm not. But
You are completely in love with him.
Mr. Modi was one of the first persons to ring me up when my father died. So maybe he also felt.
In what year was this?
2007.
So अभी तो कोई बात नहीं होती ना?
Yeah, नहीं अभी कोई बात नहीं होती. Okay, we've done the longest interview that I've ever done, and I'm not even a celebrity.
And you're still full of energy. Who said you're not a celebrity?
No, I have energy.
Everyone clap for Rajdeep.
I have energy. I have energy.
No. Now, there are more things that I wanted to talk about.
We can do another interview. On
मेरे को ये बात करनी थी कि आपको वो जो एक हिंदू साइड से या राइट विंग साइड से एक गुहार उठती है कि उनको भी कभी फ्रेंचाइज नहीं मिली, उनको भी एक डिसइल्यूजनमेंट थी कांग्रेस के अंदर, तो क्या उसमें आपको कोई लेजिटिमेसी दिखती है कि नहीं?
Franchise मिली?
मतलब they were never given a voice. Is one of the points that they put
that the
across.
Hindu right was never given a point.
It was never given, and that's why there's so much anger and there's so much that they want to do.
Yeah, but that's true of an India of an earlier era. But I've seen post 90 the gradual expansion of that space. I mean, remember, Atal Bihari Vajpayee was India's prime minister between 98 and 2004.
Yeah.
You know, the Hindu right has been growing since for a substantial period of time. You know, this thing that the voice of the right has been silenced and all is not true at all.
Institutions.
There was, of course, a dominance of the left.
The way our history has been written.
There was a dominance of the left.
Yeah.
It's now we are moving to the dominance of the right. But again, it comes down to it. I don't think either is useful. I believe that this country must have space for a dialogue between left and right.
Correct. Either is useful नहीं है.
In an ideal world, we should have a dialogue between left and right. A dialogue.
I completely agree, Rajdeep. और मैं वही चाह रहा हूँ क्योंकि यहाँ भी एक लेफ्ट के सेल्फ राइटियस एक वो है ना एक तबका कि ये लोग पता नहीं कहाँ से आ गए.
जी बिल्कुल.
अरे भाई वो भी तो भारतीय नहीं है.
बिल्कुल. No. There should be no space for any form of political untouchability.
Sure.
Or in any social.
Unless you're a murderer.
Unless you're an outright criminal. But I'm saying in general, your ideological beliefs should not make you an a political untouchable to the point where there can be no dialogue.
Which I think is the sad thing.
Which is what has happened because we become hyper polarized. लंबा word मैंने use किया.
Hyper polarized.
Hyper polarized.
और मैं आगे आपसे ये बात करना चाहता था कि there was a time when we weren't this polarized and we trusted you guys, but didn't you guys see this coming? I am of a generation who grew up trusting you.
Yeah, so
and what the fuck happened? Why are we so polarized right now?
No, but stop blaming us for that, yeah? This is society
I'm
out
not
there.
Saying, I'm not just blaming you. I'm not just blaming you. But I'm saying, do you ever feel guilt about that?
Do I ever feel guilt?
About
No, revolutions often devour their own. Let me leave it on that. We were part of the great TV revolution and I'm very proud to be part of that. But maybe it devoured us at one level. It prevented us from seeing some of the darker aspects of what was happening around us. But don't blame us. But don't blame us for what politicians do. Don't blame us for some of the hate speech that goes around.
Of course.
No,
I can't blame you for that. I can only blame for your own downfalls. I can't blame you.
The institutional corrosion has been all-encompassing. Let's not single out any one individual here. But यार तेरे शूज बड़े अच्छे लग रहे हैं. On that I'm going to do
इस कैमरा में देख के देखो बातें और भी करनी थी. इस कैमरा पे देख के ये किताब है राजदीप ने लिखी है. मैंने अभी जितना पढ़ा है मुझे बहुत बेहतरीन लगी है. कार्तिक ने 10-12 चैप्टर 4-5 चैप्टर पढ़ डाले. मुझे नहीं पता 10-12 है भी कि नहीं है ना.
10-12 पढ़े हैं.
उन्होंने 10-12 चैप्टर पढ़े.
वॉशिंग मशीन से लेके मीडिया पे लेके हिंदुत्व को लेके कोविड को लेके इट्स ऑल देयर. In fact, the only miss that I had was the election commission, which I will.
You have to sign this for me.
You want me to sign that?
You have to sign this.
Okay.
Anyway, उस कैमरा में देख के राजदीप, how your experience was, बस आप एक बार बता दें.
Okay.
और लोगों को बोले Unfiltered by संदेश को सब्सक्राइब करें.
Okay.
चलें.
Folks, this has been quite the interview I didn't expect.
Horrendous.
So it's the interview that surprised me.
Did you have
or
fun?
I shouldn't have surprised. I had fun because it was, and that's, I think that's the credit of Samdish, that he makes you feel at ease, makes you say things that you won't say otherwise. And it's a very chilled out interview of a kind that I've never done before. So, if you want to watch more of this, just subscribe to Unfiltered and to Samdish's wonderful show. And while you're doing that, also go and pick up a book. It's called 2024, The Election That Surprised India. And if you want a package deal, you can even try this one.
Amazon,
but that's the one to read.
Amazon में दोनों मिल जाएगी.
Yeah, and you might get an autograph from the PM for this. You'll certainly get one for that. Have a great time. Enjoy.
Thanks.
Namaskar.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone clap for him.
When was the last time I don't know when he last had a haircut, but that's another question.
Bye. वो तो एक अलग बात है.
Bye. Bye guys. See you.
Thank you.
Dosti bani rahe.
We will click 4-5 photos.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Dosti.